But we also have another amazing speaker with us tonight, our very own Joe DiGiorgio from the Canal Town Museum. Yay! He's going to be talking about the Titanic and the Biograph, and was it 110 years ago today?
Well, today's the 12th.
Today's the 12th, okay, in 2 days from now, it'll be 110 years since the sinking of the Titanic. So I know you will really enjoy this program tonight. I'm so glad you're all here. So let's give it up for Joe.
Okay, we're going to start right off. And as long as I go page down, I think I'm going to be okay. Yeah. There we go. All right, we're going to meet our first character here, and that's going to be Daniel. Daniel was born in 1894, and you can see who he's going to be. His mother and father are. Okay, the Tackerberries were people from Canastota, but they originated in Casanova. But they lived, his mother-in-law is going to live here. Mother-in-law meaning not Daniel, but his father. Okay, sometimes father was called Henry, and sometimes he was called Harry. So you see them both up there. Now, what's going to happen here is he's going to become one of our characters in the Titanic. Daniel is. Okay, son of Harry and Oromella. I never heard that name before until I started researching about the Tackerberries, but there they are. And this tells you something about why he became famous, because the American mutoscope and Biograph company was started here, which was eventually going to be really big. The Biograph, it's going to be big time stuff. So he's going to become wealthy. And he's going to become part of society. So Daniel, son of, he's going to be part of society. This just tells you a little bit about Canastota, where they were located, the Biograph company. Okay, American Biograph. And obviously you can read that on East Canal Street. They made movies, machines there. And the later years, they did it on Robert Street, right next to the high school. It's now apartments. Okay, but that's not, they had to take down that particular building. Okay, so, but they actually produced movies in New York City on what you call, in those days, high scrapers. Okay, because they were the sunlight and so forth. And so there you see one of the movies off to the side of the Biograph. And most of their movies were short movies, very short. The Biograph company also had offices in London and Paris. So you can see why they became very famous. And they became wealthy people in the sense that they were investing in the movie company. They were pioneers of the movie companies. So I have to get close to my thing here. Wait a minute here. Okay, the Titan. Okay, we go to 1898, and Morgan Robertson writes a book in 1898, and it's almost identical to what's going to happen to the Titanic. Almost, he foresees it. Okay, this is the era where they're starting to build big ships, bigger ships, faster ships. So he's saying, look what might happen. It's a novel, but boy, read it and you say, yeah, you sure that the name of the book's not the Titanic? Yeah. Okay. And then in 1896, world famous journalist foresaw his own death. He writes a short story about the same kind of thing, about being on a mail steamer, M-A-I-L, okay? You know how Her Majesty's ship, steam? Well, a mailer, it's not Her Majesty, but Royal Mail Steamship, because they delivered mail. And the Titanic was a mail ship. It had a huge post office, thousands upon thousands of letters were being sent across, were supposed to be sent across the Atlantic. And then back again, thousands and thousands of letters, and he do all the postal work right on the ship, or they should have. So he published a short story, and there it is, how the mail steamer went down in mid-Atlantic by a survivor, except the author is going to be one of the victims. He's going to go on, because he's a real famous journalist, he wants to be on the Titanic. So he's on the Titanic with all these famous and rich people, first class, you know, oh, Roy. But he forecast his own death years before even the book came out. Just to give you some idea about the Titanic and how large it was. Okay? That's the Queen Mary. We go to the 1930s now with the Queen Mary. And here we have the Queen Mary, and you can see it was huge. Queen Mary was compared, but the Titanic and its sister ship, the Olympic, class of the day, they were the top. They were the largest, most luxurious. They were the wonderful. You wanted to be on those ships. You couldn't help being. Even in third class. Third class on those ships were better than most second classes on the other ships. This gives you an idea how big the ship was. That's the size of the propellers. Now, one of the propellers that's going to make a difference in the Titanic and its fate, F-A-T-E, okay, and its fate, is going to be the middle one, that big one. That's going to have a lot of control of what the rudder is going to do when it gets to its position. And that's Captain Smith. And Captain Smith, he's going to be the noted person because he's always on ships for rich people. He's called the rich guy for the ships. He's going to be there. He's going to be the captain. He was the captain on the Olympic, the sister ship that sailed a year before the Titanic. They were both built in the same place. But the sister ship, the Olympic, is going to go out the year before. And that's going to be part of the story. Now, 1912. There's a huge coal strike in Great Britain. Coal strike. Well, how does the ship run? The ship runs by coal. A lot of coal. 825 tons is the amount of coal per day. 3-degree lift is moved to the north side. And that makes a difference because we didn't know about this until just recently. You see, history brings out new facts as you go along. And we didn't know about a 3-degree lift until just recently. Because we found some photographs. Somebody had them in their attic. Somebody got a lot of money for those photographs. And it kind of proved what happened here, or might have proved what happened here. Because the ship is run by coal. And we go to the boiler room. There were 29 boilers, huge boilers, aboard the Titanic. There were 159 furnaces, huge furnaces, and they had to be going all the time. Now, to save time, to be on schedule, what happens is when they were in Belfast and the boat's being fitted, we're going to start those furnaces up. We're not going to wait. We're not going to wait because, wait a minute, we're a first-class ship. We want to be on time. If nothing else, we want to be ahead of time if we can be. Another one of those mistakes. Okay? So, the furnaces are started in Belfast. But there's a problem in Belfast. One of the coal bunkers is also burning. The coal is burning in the bunker before it ever gets into the furnaces to get the boilers going. So that's what's happening. So what's going on? Well, it just so happens those coal bunkers that were burning were right next to the hull. right next to the hull. And what it did was weaken the hull, the metal, the steel on it. It weakened it. There was only one particular sheet, and it's weakened it. Well, we're not going to let anybody know that's happening. Because what we're going to do is, when we go to port, you see, we didn't know about this that burn area that you see up there. I get my little thing going. Okay, you see the burn area, okay? Instead, when we're in port, we're going to face it so that people getting on, especially the first and second class people, when they getting on, are not going to see the black mark that's happening on the ship. And we're not going to find out about that until very recently. Let's meet the second person that's going to be involved in this. The fiancé. These two lovebirds. Daniel is going to fall in love with another socialite. Okay? And that family there is going to be part of the family. They're going to have what would you call it? They're doing fashion designs for the very wealthy. And so they were another wealthy family. They're coming from Scotland, by the way. Immigrants from Scotland. I mean, successful. Again. So at this point, Daniel is living in Manhattan. He meets somebody at socialite. Oh, they fall in love. He's 18 and she's 17. Going on 17, yeah. Okay, so what happens here? Something does happen. They decide at this early age they're going to elope. The mother and fathers on both sides said, no, you're too young to do anything like that. How dare you? You know how you sound, right? You sound that way? Okay, they disobeyed. They go to the Justice of the Peace in New York City. And they get elope, and they're married. Family finds out they're married. We can't have this. We have to do a proper ceremony. So, as good Presbyterians would do, they had it in their home. Okay? The mother's house, of the lady of the house. Okay? So, there they are. They get married. But that's not enough. They're going to be married again. Because this is a film company, right? So they're going to have to be filmed. So now they go to the church. And so now they have a minister come out, and he remarries them 3 times. Some people say 3 times is enough. Too much. All right? And you're out. Okay. But you do notice, she was a beautiful woman. She was a model. She was the model of the day. So here you got, a very beautiful woman, and it's all going to be happy forever and ever, forever and ever. Well, let's see what's going to happen. Here's the story. I just told you the whole story, right? They married 3 times. Okay, there you see pictures of both of them and her. Okay, and you see the little cartoon there. They had to be filmed. And you see Cupid up there too. All right, very cute. These were this was great news. This was society. They were people. This person born in Canastota was a great news story. Okay, it was a great news story. And for days, look what these kids did, Now they're going. So what's the family do? We're going to send you to Europe for a honeymoon. 5-week honeymoon. And they go across one of these luxurious ships. And they spend 5 weeks. Okay. Well, they got to come home, right? And you all know where they're going to come home with, right? You all know what they're going to be, where they're going to go. All right? So that's the end of the story, and my talk is finished. Because you know what's going to happen. You know that. All right. Well, anyway, let's go on here. Oh, here's the wedding pictures. I'm just going to flash these. I'm not going to talk about them. But these are the wedding pictures, actual actual pictures of their wedding in the church. You could tell the church in the background. But we're going to move on. Here gives you the idea of prices. Now, at every level, these were the large prices. And large, what I mean by large, I mean the most expensive prices at each level. Okay? But at each level, there were different classes. So look at this. First class. Back then, it would have cost you, if you were using the United States dollars, $4,380 to be first class, top of the first class. Today, if you were doing it, that money would be worth $100,000. Imagine third class. Steerage, right? They didn't call it steerage. No way, it's third class. But look what third class costs. Anywhere from $15 to $40. And today, it would cost you $350 to $900 for the same thing. Steerage was very different than what we think about for the early immigrants, like when my grandfather and grandmother came over, you know, standing room only on the deck type thing, you know, bring your own food. No, this is very different. You didn't have to bring your own food. They provided your food for you. And I put down the other advertisement there because they were scheduled to come back on the Titanic. Not this couple, but the Titanic was supposed to go back to Europe, Great Britain, on the 20th of April. So they were supposed to make a quick turnaround. Now, Daniel and Barry, here's the oddity. If you know anything about it, okay, they were originally scheduled to be on the Carpathia. Originally scheduled to be there. There's several reasons why they're not going to be there on the Carpathia. For one, Dad wants them to take pictures aboard the Titanic. Dad knows Captain Smith. Captain Smith's going to make a place for you. We'll pay for it, but Captain Smith's going to make a place for you. Okay? And the third thing is, they met another young couple that they kind of liked. They said, oh, yeah, you're going to be on the Titanic. Oh, we'll go too. So you have several reasons why they're going to be on the Titanic. And another reason is, a lot of the ships, in order for the Titanic to sail, had to give up their coal to the Titanic. Now, if the Titanic would never get the coal, it would have been delayed. There's several reasons why they would have been delayed. FATE again. There it is. Okay? Why are you on this ship in the first place? Okay, so they're doing. And by the way, there were 13 honeymoon couples. And you want to guess which ones were the youngest? Number 13. And there were people who were clairvoyant. They were told people, don't go on it, there's going to be a problem. That's written down. Witnesses. Don't go on it, there's going to be a problem. I can feel it. I know it. Even some of the band members, for instance, one of the band members' father was a clairvoyant. And he said, it's going to be a disaster. Don't go, son. I'll go anyway. You know, who listens to their parents? Now, the ship was considered unsinkable. And one reason why it's considered unsinkable is because one reason, there were many reasons, but one reason was the Olympic got rammed by a military warship. And it flooded its compartment, one of its compartments. It flooded it. It didn't matter. We got a flooded compartment. Look at that. That's the sister ship of the Titanic, which is not completed yet. But there's the sister ship, and it's not going down. It's unsinkable. As a matter of fact, one of the company members said, God can't even sink it. God couldn't even sink this thing. All right? So you see where they were. Now, there's another reason they could have had a delay. And one reason they were more MORRED, at the dock, ready to go, and the city of New York steamship was next to them, and so was the Oceana. And here are these two ships, and when they started the engines of the Titanic, the vortex of it broke the mooring lines of the other two ships. That's how powerful it was. It broke the mooring line. And so what happened here, what you see at the bottom here, I found, was the New Yorker, the city of New York steamship, okay? It just missed by about 2 feet the Titanic. Now, it would have been better off if they hit the Titanic, because guess what? It wouldn't have happened. Another reason for FATE again. There it is. Okay. And so they left. Now things are going to happen. You see, they left on the 10th, and now they're on their 4th day, and it's Sunday. It's Sunday morning, and this is going to be another problem. And the other problem is, okay, we're in a hurry. We can't get to New York. We want to be right there, you know, we're supposed to be. So the crew is supposed to have a lifeboat exercise and how to get them down from the, what they call the davits, where the boats are put down. Okay, so there they are. And so does the captain say, forget it. We're in a hurry. We can't stall and make time here. We got to make time. So forget that. Is it going to make a difference when the time comes? Yes, it's going to make a difference. A lot of things are making a difference here. Okay, there we are. You can read that. He was warned about icebergs. Okay, at least 6 times. At least 6 times. You're going in an iceberg area. Be careful. Okay. So he was careful, I guess. All right. So instead of going to this route here, where the icebergs were going, he decides to go in just a little very southern way. So he's going to go on this map instead. But what happens is he hits a bigger ice field, okay, and that's going to be a problem. Okay, so he's going 22 knots. That would mean he's going 22 knots. That's almost top speed, because top speed for the Titanic was about a little over 23 knots. Top speed. They only had, out of their 29 boilers or furnaces going, they did not go full steam ahead. But 22 knots is very fast. This ship was not built for speed. Their competitors were built for speed, like the Lusitania. That was speed, luxury speed. This was going to be pure, outstanding luxury. Okay, so, but it'd be nice to beat their time, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, so we did not post additional lookouts. It was not necessary. Okay, we went south of the ice. Here we are. There's going to be some other reasons what's going on. The bottom picture you see is the Carpathia, the actual photograph taken of the actual iceberg. The actual iceberg. Now, something about icebergs. Icebergs are larger at the bottom than what you see. They're larger at the bottom, which means they're going to come out further. Both ways. They're going to be out further. Remember I mentioned the 3-degree angle? See, what they were doing with the coal, in order to stop the fire, was take the coal from the stern side and put it on the port side. So that gave the boat a 3-degree lift. Now they're going to come to an iceberg, which they really didn't see. And they think they might miss it, but they don't miss it. Because why? Because they got hit at the very bottom, below the water line. They got hit behind the bottom. Now there's other reasons for that. There were no binoculars in the crow's nest. Now some people say, well, it wouldn't have made any difference because of this mirage that was there. You see, when the sea is calm and there's no reflection of light, the sea is calm, it's a wonderful evening, there's no light reflection off the iceberg. So you're going here, even if you had binoculars, you might not have been saved, because they noticed it as soon as they were upon it. Because what happens is, when the sea is calm, no reflection of light, you think the horizon is beyond a false horizon. You don't get to see the iceberg. You're right there. Now maybe, if the key was there, and they were able to open the locker with the binoculars, they might have taken a couple seconds off, they might have been saved. Might have, we don't know. But what happened was, one of the people that should have been on the ship did not get chosen. So he stayed behind, and guess what he had? He had the key. He had the key. So there's a couple reasons why something would happen. So our poor characters, you know, Daniel and Mary, my gosh, they were goners. You know, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. Uh-oh, a night. But still, things are still going along very well. There's romance. I mean, you know, they're a married couple. I mean, what do you want? All right? So there they are. All right? But, wait a minute. Oh, that's the suite. Wow. First class. I mean, you know, there they are, married couple. Oh, wait a minute. There's a movie. Did you know that Daniel and Mary were in movies? In the 1958 movie, they are actually named The Night to Remember. And that came from a book in 1955, A Night to Remember. There they are, from the movie. And in 1978, SOS Titanic. I couldn't find a picture of him. I went through film stuff forever, and I couldn't find a picture of him. But that's a picture of the actress that was in the 1978 movie SOS Titanic. It was a disaster. They didn't get much on the post office. Not post office. And of course, we all know about the 1997 movie. And they're actually named in there, if you paid attention, Mr. and Mrs. Marvin. There they are in the 1997 movie. And that's supposed to be Daniel and Mary. Very elite. Okay. So next time you watch the movie, listen closely. Okay? Because there they are. Wait a minute now. We're going to hit the iceberg. Remember the 3-degree lean. Okay? Now we hit the iceberg. And you see what's going to happen here. Between the fire that they didn't tell the public about in one of the coal bunkers. Okay? And between the ice and, you know, not telling people what's going on and hiding it, even during their investigations at the end, a lot was covered over. Okay? Criminal negligence? You betcha. You betcha. Anybody going to go to trial on it? Take a guess. Oh, there we are again now. This is just an artist's viewpoint. And here he is. Here's Mary and Daniel. No, honey, I'm coming on the very next boat. I'm coming on the very next boat. You gotta get in, you gotta get in. Get in the lifeboat. Now, let's talk about the lifeboats. If they were on the starboard side, the starboard officer was allowing men and women both on the boat, on the lifeboats. On the port side, Officer Lightoller was only allowing women and children first. That's the way they each interpreted the captain's orders differently. Captain Smith said, women and children first. So, on the starboard side, women and children went first. So women and children go first. And then they got down to the next level. They were supposed to open up these doors on the port side and let more people in. It didn't happen. It never happened. So some of the boats actually went with fewer people in it. To start off with, they didn't have enough lifeboats to start with. so we're going to see, here we are. It's all right, little girl. And this is a quote that Mary said later. You know, that's what she said. She said, all right, it's all right, little girl. You go, I stay. Women and children first. Daniel's going to be a hero. He's going to be a victim. Because he's never going to get on the next boat. There's not going to be a next boat. And here we are, and in one of the things that Mary was supposed to have been consoled by a countess aboard the lifeboat. And so, off the movie, I found this particular screen picture here. And I almost believe this is an actual photograph of them going down. And so I think they're right here. Because as they were going down, she said, all we had in our boat, we're supposed to be 40-something people in that particular lifeboat. All we had was 12. So some of the lifeboats went down. For a couple of reasons they went down without enough people. For one, the sailors weren't accustomed to lowering the lifeboats. They had no training. And the other is, they thought that if you crowded a boat, any one of the lifeboats too much, it would fall over and not do very well. So they were just trying to get people off at first. So some of the very first boats that left did not have enough people to fill the lifeboats. And there weren't enough lifeboats to start with. Another reason why the place sunk, okay, here you see a photograph of it sinking, is that when they hit the iceberg, what happened was people said, we heard a noise. What's that all about? See, there were chunks of ice coming on the deck. Oh, look at that, I got a chunk of ice. And the people in their rooms and so forth opened up the portholes. Well, guess what? They left them open. And when they were told that you get on deck, you get into lifeboats, guess what they left open? The portholes. So what comes down as the ship is going down, more water is going in. Another mistake. See, you need to start training people on what to do in the case of an emergency. So here we are. 53.4% of the total percentage could have survived given the number of lifeboats spaces available. In other words, another 53.4% of the people could have been saved if they put enough people in only the lifeboats they had. It would not have been that much of a disaster. And here we go. Here's the rescue ship. Okay? It's the Carpathia. There's the Carpathia that's going to rescue them. And the little picture you see off to the side there is people being rescued by the Carpathia. And this is, notice where they're sending this message to. The sister ship, which is hundreds of miles away. The telegraph, the Marconi telegraph that was down there, would go as much as, I think the figure was 2,400 miles. But it's reaching ships, which are 500 miles. He said, how soon can you get here? We'll be there in 4 hours. Too late. The ship sunk in 2.5 hours. In 2.5 hours, the Titanic went down. And the Californian. The Californian was only 20 miles away. But here's where we get going. You see, the Marconi telegraph people worked for the Marconi telegraph people, not for the steamship people. And their main job was to send letters or communicate back to relatives and so forth. And they were flooded. They had over 3,000 things to send out. So he's sending it out. The Californian sends a notice in, we stopped. We're in the middle of ice. So we're going to wait till daylight so we can see what we're doing. That's the Californian. They send a message, the message never gets to the captain. Because what's the Marconi people doing? I'm making a little exaggeration in this. They're sending out all these notes that they're supposed to send out to the people that they're supposed to send out to. So messages come, no, the captain might be interested in that, but the captain's not interested in that. And then finally, when the Californian is telling them, hey, you got a problem here, ice. What's the people on board the ship, the Titanic, say? Shut up, leave us alone, we're busy. So what's the guy from the Californian do? He shuts off his telegraph and goes to bed. In the meantime, the ship is sinking. Yeah, and maybe send up flares. And say, hey, look, they're having a good time over there. They send up fireworks. Wow, look at that. That's from the Californian. Hey, they're having a good time. They told the captain that. The captain said, well, I don't know. I don't know why they're doing that. All right? FATE? Okay, Blue Line sinks in California in the morning after the Titanic, and there's the iceberg again. And everybody knows, now the Californian is going to come to their rescue. Yeah, big deal. All right? The messages are blurred. SOS. Now, SOS would have been the proper thing to send, but that was not very popular, SOS. It was a whole different system that was basically sent out by telegraph, saying, no, we're sinking, help us out. Well, SOS says, we're sinking. Disaster, come right away. All right? So the SOS code did not come in until 1906, but not everybody would use it. The Germans used it. They say Germans were smart. So the Germans were using the SOS, but not Great Britain at the time. Now, what's going to happen here? Here's another. The only ship responding to distress signals was the Carpathian, and he ended up saving 705 people. In the lifeboat. Now, Dorothy Gibson, first class, was a famous actress, singer, dancer at the time. First class. Okay? She gets aboard. She's surviving. And it did take, I heard they say there's nothing, nobody had anything to say. Everybody was silent because the ship was sinking. What do you say when you hear them yelling at people, they're dying? You know they're going to die. Right? Because you know you're not going to go back to save them because you don't want to get sucked in with the ship going down. So you're in the lifeboat and you're silence. You're quiet. All except for Molly Brown. Unsinkable Molly. She was on the ship. Okay? And that's why they call her, because she takes up the calls later on. Okay? But not that she was on several ships. She was unsinkable because, boy, she gave everybody a tough time and we should have known better. And that was Molly. Even aboard the lifeboat. Even aboard the lifeboat, Molly's telling them, listen, you gotta listen to me. I don't care if you're a sailor. You listen to me. And that's the way she was. She was one tough lady. I wouldn't want to be on the same lifeboat with her. She'd probably kick me off. Okay. But at any rate, here we have 29 days later, there's a play. And not only a play, a film. With Dorothy Gibson as the star. And in it she wears the same robe that she was put into the lifeboat with. And she talks about her experience. It's a movie. 29 days later, we got a movie about the Titanic. Oh, this is one that somebody here is going to really like. See, this has some relationship to Canastota too. Commodore Decker is related to my wife. Really. Related on the father's side to my wife. And he's a scout. He's relaying messages. He was sent out because the Titanic was in trouble. And he was supposed to send out messages. So he sends out messages about survivors. And it's getting back. But you know what I underlined there? List of third-class passengers when convenient. Sends out survivors for first class and second class. And the Carpathia says, well, when convenient, we'll send out the third-class people. Who's most important. Tell you something about society? Okay, May 15th. This thing is going to take news forever. And who's going to be sometimes in the forefront of the news? Our people. Daniel from Canastota and Mary. Now, they're both from New York City at this point because we're socialites. Okay, images of the film. And you saw some of the images already, so I'm not going to show you more images. Now here's what's happening. The first messages that come across, you're talking about families getting excited and knowing that their family is on the Titanic. The first messages they came across was Titanic's passengers all rescued. Multiple newspapers, Associated Press, didn't matter. They're rescued. That was good news. So you can see what's going on. Then you get another message. Oh, they're not all rescued. Now the family goes, oh, is my kid rescued? Is my kid rescued? My husband's on that ship. What's going on? Okay? So here we are. And then we get this information, even the New York Times, 866 people rescued. Well, that's not true. 706 people were rescued. But hey, you know, anything goes across. News doesn't stop. Same things happen today, doesn't it? Okay? You're going to say, what do I believe? What do I believe? And what's going to be cause of this? You know, John Jacob Astor, richest man aboard the ship. Down. Levi Strauss, the man in charge of Macy's. Okay, there's another love affair. She gets aboard the lifeboat. He says, no, I'm not going aboard the lifeboat. She says, get me out of the lifeboat. If I'm going to die, I'm dying with my husband. We've been together too long. She gets off the lifeboat. Yeah. All right. I happen to be looking for films again, and I found an old newsreel, and here it is. And I found somebody from Syracuse. Actually, he wasn't from Syracuse, he was from Ballsville. But Syracuse close enough, so that's the way the news reported. And I took the slide off the film, okay, because there he was, okay, there he is, Stewart, the Reverend Stewart, okay. Now, here's what I was saying a moment ago. Messages were being telegraphed to the family, or newspaper articles they were reading. Disaster. Then the next one they read, no, people were saved. And the next one, no, you weren't saved. And it kept going, and just his family just was going crazy. His family. Okay. They were just going crazy. Okay. Finally it says, okay, rescue. This was in the Post Standard, Syracuse Post Standard. Wednesday morning, April 17th. He's safe. He's safe. All right, his brother goes from Ballsville to Fort Byron to greet him. So some way he got to Fort Byron. And goes back to his mom and dad. It's really him! It's him! He's saved! Okay, you could imagine. The whole village were involved in it. Going ups and downs, ups and downs. Now we get to another local man. There's more to Canastota. Okay, here we are. Okay. Francis W. Sumington. That's the signature there. Let's find out more about him. First emigrated to the United States in 1902. 1906 applied for citizenship to become a citizen in 1910. Made his home in Canastota. Employed as a machinist for Marvin and Kessler. There you go, Marvin and Kessler guy again. Okay, there they are. Okay. And he boarded at the home of George Jackson. And I don't know whom, I think it's somebody from Great Britain that he married, but I'm not sure of that. That's who he married. And that's where he's going to be. He's a machinist. Now what he does is go back to visit his family. And he's going to come back in third class. Supposedly coming back in third class. And the same thing is going to happen all over again. Because the people in Canastota really loved this man. He was in the newspapers. There's all kinds of stuff going on. There's telegraphs coming in continuously. Saying, what happened to him? We don't know what happened to him. He telegraphed his wife. His wife did not respond back. Where is he? Why? Because they returned on the Lusitania. That's when they went back. They were on the Lusitania. Just thought I'd put that in. Took a job. But look again what happened here. The works were closed down because of the coal strike again. Oh, he would if the coal strike wasn't there, he would have stayed maybe in Great Britain for a while, because he had a job. And he got notified that, hey, Martin and Kessler would hire him again. Come back, we need you, we like you. All right? On the 22nd of April, he was supposed to start his job. But he gets that, that's his passenger ticket. He found that out. And here's one of the telegraphs. Here's one of the telegraphs. Employed at Martin and Kessler factory, left yesterday. Who left yesterday? George Jackson. George wants to know what happened to him, and note the date. It's the 29th of April. And he's on his way to Halifax to see if he can identify some of the body, his body. He goes all the way. A friend, a resident of Canastota, goes all the way to Halifax with the support of Martin and Kessler Company. And here they are, retrieving bodies. And the ship became Bennett. Chartered by White Star. There was a big problem there. How come White Star didn't have a representative aboard that charter ship? These people that they were responsible for. Well, you know, they didn't want responsibility. And here we are, we see some of the coffins in Halifax. Well, they took in 306 bodies. They called it the funeral ship. And they had to bury, because they couldn't handle it, they had to bury at sea 166 of those individuals. Who were they? Might have been Daniel. He might have been Frank. What happens? Mary gets off the boat. She's a survivor. She gets off the boat and she sees parents of both of these people, both families. They greet her. She faints. She's going to recover at the home of her mother-in-law. No, of her mother, I'm sorry. Going to recover at the home of her mother. And she finds out she's pregnant. She lost a husband now. And she's pregnant. Makes the papers. Again, this is big time stuff. Makes the papers. And here's two of the newspaper articles. Okay, Daniel Marvin. Titanic. This is Daniel Marvin. She's one of the survivors. Now, the villain in all this is going to be the chairman of the board for the company. Okay, and that's going to be Bruce there. Okay. Okay. His name. He's saved. All right. Now there were reports that he should have stayed back with the captain and others. There were a lot of heroes in this who stayed aboard that ship in order to make it float as long as it could be, and they died. They went down with the ship. And I'm talking about the guys in the engine room. They were trying to keep the lights on and keep people calm, and they kept shoveling coal in just to keep things going as long as they could, knowing that that was their job. Wow. You talk about dedication, you talk about heroes. Okay? How about the band? They went down. You're going to see that in a moment. Okay, so here we are. And he's going to be, press is going to do a job on him. You know who really owned the company? J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan owned the White Star Company. He was the owner. Got together very early, about 1907, and bought everybody out, and there we are. And this was part of that deal. And so was a guy by the name of Perry, who helped build the ship. It's amazing. Gosh sakes. I got inspired by this. Last night I watched the PBS thing. They did a thing about the orchestra. And they played the music that they were playing as they were talking about each individual and the band. So I got inspired by this. So I found a cartoon. And this is Jacob's ladder. Idea from Genesis. Okay? And here's the cartoon that was made almost immediately after in the newspapers. And there you see, it's not the ladder, but it's the sunlight. Going where? You know where. In Jacob's ladder, there you are. You're being saved, you know, Jacob under the stone, and there you are. And what's their last hymn the band's playing? Near, my God, to thee, dear to thee. Wow. Unbelievable. But there were other things that were happening on board. Those were things that, you know, people are heroes. If somebody came, again, they're quoting Mary Marvin. She said, in the Daily Stat, in this newspaper, she's going, oh, Mrs. Marvin has reported of having seen a passenger with a revolver fight his way to a boat and threaten to shoot anybody who interfered. Did she really? I don't know. Or was that just a news press similar maybe to yellow journalism? I don't know. But things were happening aboard the boat. People were panicking. But in 1913, Mary meets Horace DeCamp. DeCamp, that's where he was born. Come on! You got it! Canastota! All right? He knew Marvins. He knew the Marvins, okay? He was in the lumber business, a successful lumber business, okay? And so they're going to get married. And he's going to adopt Daniel's daughter, okay? Peggy. Peggy's going to be adopted. So this is a new family, and they're going to raise children on their own. Okay, so some things end kind of happily, you know, they almost have to. And no, we never forget the Titanic. Talking about it tonight, right? All kinds of books were put out. All kinds of movies. You can't believe the number of movies that the Titanic is about. Unbelievable. I couldn't count them. I related to some of them for you, but I could not count the number. And people are still doing it. By the way, everything that happened in the 1997 movie did not really happen. And we have memorials. Daniel's memorial is in. Yeah. Why? Well, because that's where the Marvin family originated from. And you notice the name on the top, Daniel Warren. They helped establish the community. There they are. And that's the picture of him at the age of 18. Okay? I see people reading. Are you ready? Okay. Oh, and so is Francis William Somerton in the middle part there. He's also, there he is. And he's there with William Henry, who died in 1913, the age of 74. Okay, that's not too far out when his son died on the Titanic. And there I put those big yellow spots so you see who it was. And at the very bottom of that slide, all in all, 150 victims were put to rest here in the so-called City of Sorrow. 43 of them were never identified. And here's another story, real or not real, I don't know. Let's see, okay? Just so happens that William Reeves, in 1935, on watch with a tramp steamer. The tramp steamer was one that had no original port. It didn't have a port of call, or call of port. Okay? So that's a tramp steamer. And he is on watch. Guess what the date is? April 14th. Guess what the date is also for him? It was his birthday. And so he says, we're not going to go through this nice thing here. We're stopping. So he calls to stop. And sure enough, what's in front of him? An iceberg. Clairvoyant? His birthday? Oh, I don't know. But, boom. And no Christ, we know the story. 1985, they finally found where it should have been. It was 13 miles away from where they thought it sunk. That's why it took so long to find it. But then they had new technology in 1985. So here's some pictures of the ship down below. And the picture you see at the very bottom of the ship here are a set of shoes. All through the Titanic are sets of shoes in pairs. Guess what was there? Those are all the remains of the bodies of the shoes. They went down with the ship. And just real quick here, just real fast, and the talk is just about over with this slide, okay? 68% of the people total on board were 45%, these are fatalities. You can see the number of percentages. Third class, 75% of the third class. Now a lot of people say the third class were locked in. They were not. Okay, that's a myth. They were not locked in. Okay, the gates you see, like in the picture you see there, first class passengers only, and that was gates so if you were in third class, you could not mingle with the other classes. But that didn't mean you couldn't get away. Now one reason why so many third class people did not get away was the fact is many of them didn't speak English. And the other one was, it was too confusing in how to get out to the upper decks. So that's why there were more people who died in third class. Not because they were locked in, okay? They were the last to be notified that there was a problem. Matter of fact, the whole Titanic area, it was a good hour after they hit the iceberg before they said, there's a problem, get to your lifeboats. A whole hour. They both sunk in 2.5 hours. The Carpathia took 4.5 hours to rescue the 706 people. And with that, my dear friends, is the end.